Hello People, time to have a look at some formatting, focusing on the formatting for Level 2 AAT that's included in the Principles of Costing unit. So this is straight off the syllabus. I'll add a couple of minor little bits in, including things it says not to in the syllabus, because if it's there hopefully you're curious and you want to know what it means. So very simple stuff. I'm sure you won't have any trouble. If you don't already know, we can click on the B symbol on the main header bold on home and it goes bold. Click again, it's not bold, but it's also a shortcut. There's always more than one way of doing the same thing on spreadsheets. Control B as a shortcut, take it off, or I could have formatted the cells on the font menu. I can make it bold that way. Nobody will know which way you've done it. My advice is to keep your mouse and for the minimal usage and use the keyboard if you can, so Control B. It keeps your head and your spine straighter, so it's better for your health long term. So I'll better demonstrate that by using the down key rather than clicking on it. Control I makes some italics. You'll notice it has highlighted this symbol up here. Italics can also be bold. And underline, Control U, or right click, format cells, underline. Again, they can be bold. They can also be italics with multiple formatting there to the same wording. The formatting belongs to the cell, so not the wording that it's done at the moment. Anything else typed in the cell would also be, even though the wording has gone beyond the cell. It belongs in this cell. It's attached to G9, not to H9, even though it appears on screen, because if I make it wider you'll see then it all fits in the cell, which we're going to do in a minute, how to make things fit in the cell. So fill with colour, so whichever cells are highlighted, so there's a range here, very bright yellow, red. Of course some means you can't read the text. That's a very nice colour, but we can't really read the text. Maybe we can go on the palette and just, well, we did like the lavender, but that's a kind of pinky purple. But now we can read the text properly, of course. So again, a tiny bit more technical. Merging of cells. Now merging of cells will only keep whatever's in the top left hand cell when you merge a group of cells. We can actually merge across more than one row. So I'm in row 11, I could merge it into 12 as well, which is the row below. It automatically merges and centres. Reminds you that it's just about to lose the word is and OK. And it's lost the borders because it's got really confused, but they're easy to put back on. What else can I do with this? Well, I can make it in the middle. I can make it to the left, bottom right, down to the bottom, to the right, to the left, to the top, to the middle. That's most common really. And of course I can change the text as well. If I unmerge, it's pretty much taking it back to the top left. So. And now it's kept the border though, that time. And it's still kept the border now, so occasionally you might lose a border or something like that if you do that. But that's actually merged, not just the cells across, but it's actually merged with the row beneath. So wrapping text, okay, so why? Well, because Principles of Costing doesn't fit in the width of column G. If I don't want to make column G any wider because I need so many columns on a spreadsheet visible on a page, this is the main option, wrap text. So rather than trying to work out, I can put principles on one row and then costing on the next row. I can just wrap. Of course, what I have already done is make the row a little bit deeper, because if I hadn't done that it would only see part of it. In fact, if it was at the top rather than the bottom, it would see the principles bit. So I do have to remember to make the row a little bit deeper, and then I've got the same options: middle, right, middle, and then I can do these, change everything else. So I change the height in cell. Can also change the font. This is Arial. There's some nice ones, there's some pretty naff ones. That's okay actually. I've never used that one before, can't remember clicking on it, but who knows. It's quite clear. So we've done all the various versions, and that wrapping actually could have been across more than one row as well. And it'll automatically adjust. So let's just squeeze it up a little bit. Okay, it's still fitting on 2 rows. Now it's got trouble, but it's feasible. But better than doing that after typing in principles on one row and off costing on the other, and then finding it's a real mess, which is what we used to have to do in the past. So text size, again, one doesn't normally cause a problem. We've got a size up here, or in fact I can go Control Shift P for point and change it on here. We'll make it a little bit bigger, and then of course we could get so big that it doesn't fit in the row, and obviously now across 3 cell widths, so we have got a bit of trouble if we wanted to wrap it. But it's possible. We can make it really, really big and silly if we wanted, or very, very small. That's the actual point size of the character as opposed to zooming in and zooming out, which makes it just look bigger on the screen. Borders, so we'll apply it to a couple of 3 cells. We can have what commonly bottom border. We just got the bottom border. We could add in a top border. Fine. We can get rid of every border to start again because we didn't like what we've done. We can go right click, format cells, borders. It's on the same menu, and I can put them where I want now. I could put a double line on the top and bottom, and then again clear it. I could have put a big border around it, a thick one. Clear it, no borders, and then put top and double bottom, of course, is for totals. Subtotals, single line top and bottom. Main total, single line top, double line on the bottom. So you'll see that a lot. Getting down the page, so onto a different section now. 1000 separates. 1000 separates means the comma when it's over 1000. It's one slight proviso. This is the quickest way of doing it. We can go format cells, tell it it's a number, and that we want the symbol. I suppose I better show that one on number. If I go number, I can put the 1000 separate. I can also make negative numbers red, which is sometimes quite useful. But most people just click on the comma there. Now suddenly that doesn't fit in, which is why the hashes come up, and that's because actually what it's done is make it to 2 decimal places. Don't know why it automatically does that, which means if I didn't want it to 2 decimal places, I've got to take those off. That is a visual thing. It's actually remembered the number to 57 decimal places. Accountancy will also do the same. It'll add 2 decimal places. Again, format cells, or I can click accounting. It puts the pound sign over to the left and the numbers over to the right, and you'll see that when we actually get rid of the extra 2 decimal places. But sometimes you want the 2 decimal places, sometimes you don't. Now percentages, we'll do some calculations on percentages. It assumes that this is a decimal. Now as you may know, 0.2 is 20%. So that, what is showing at the moment as 20,000, if I tell it I want it as a percentage, it comes up as 2 million. And then it tells me it's a percentage because it's put a percentage after it. There's also slight variation with formulas as well, which is on the formulas video. So decimals, okay, at the moment this is showing 2 whole numbers, i.e. no decimal places. However, the number isn't 21, it's actually 20, it isn't even 20.6, it's 20.5 something. In fact, it isn't 20.57, it's 20.56. In fact, it was 20.56894. So the computer knows it is 20.56894. It will use that in any calculations, but it's showing to, at the moment, 5 decimal places, 4 decimal places, and it's mathematically rounding up or back to 1 decimal place, or a whole number if I clicked again. So showing and knowing what the number is slightly different. Excel's clever enough to show you on screen, but calculate with an absolute number, a much bigger number. So this is where the syllabus just tells you, ignore paste values and paste link. It doesn't say anything about link workbook or common functions. Let's show you the difference though, do it properly. So copy and paste means you go to the cell, you can right click and copy, or you can use a shortcut, Control C, and then go to the cell you want it in, right click, paste, or Control and V. Now that doesn't fit into the cell because it wasn't wide enough, but it is actually our number. It has kept the 1000 separator intact because it has copied what was there. I need a bit more room. Now I don't need to recopy it because notice that's still shimmering. But if I right click, 1, 2, 3 is paste values. It's only pasted the values, not the formatting of the cell, in other words the 1000 separator. And then paste link uses the link symbol, so if I right click, notice there's a link there. Again, that didn't quite fit in the cell, so we better make these, narrow them up a little bit. Kept the 1000 separator. And then linking workbooks works the other way. You go equals, go to the number, and then press the return. Now paste link and link workbooks, we've done it on the same worksheet, we just used this cell, but it could actually have been on a different tab, in other words a different worksheet within the workbook, but it could actually have been a different workbook. It could actually have been a workbook online on a server at head office in Australia or America somewhere, and then they could update something, and some of these copy versions will update and some won't. So let's prove which ones do. So 10,001 becomes 10,250, and those are updated. We need an extra, I don't know why it didn't show, it's only an extra digit, I suppose it's just a little bit wider because zeros are wider than ones, 250 is wider than 001. So the paste link and link workbooks both updated. They do however work differently. Paste link has an absolute reference to the cell, link workbooks, so it says equals, and there it would have the tab name if it was a different tab or different workbook name, and they update. And Excel's clever enough to update those links and the link to the workbook if we inserted something like a row, which is nice and easily done here. So if I highlight that, so it's best if you're going to insert a row to highlight it, and then all you need to do is right click and insert. Because I've highlighted the row from the left hand edge, it knows it's inserting a row. Notice the paste link and link workbooks keep the same. They've actually changed the reference, it's now G19, not G18, which it was before. I could also have right clicked and gone insert without selecting the row, and then I'm going to tell it it's a row, so pretty pointless really doing it that way. This works better, especially with some versions of pasting and linking, than trying to copy the text or cut it and then go down a couple of rows and then repaste it, because sometimes doing that it loses the links. Columns work the same way. Insert, again you can see it disappearing off the page, or we'll put another one in insert, but now I've got to tell it it's a column. Either way, it keeps these values. It knows to update any references within the worksheet, and if it's a paste link or linked any other worksheets that are linked to it. So one of these, actually, if there was a link from this worksheet into sheet 1 or somebody else's open spreadsheet, it would update those links as well. So Excel's quite clever. That will do for now.